Hello. Okay, goodbye. All right, folks, I fucked up again. Unbelievable. That's because Jimmy's not here. Anyway, I hit the wrong button. Anyway, tonight we're going to talk about a bunch of things, a few things, and I'm going to have my pal Anthony on because he called me this morning and he scolded me. So we're going to correct some of the records because I keep saying things that are not accurate, and one of them involves his uncle, and I just want to. Well, it's good because I'm glad I'm getting fact checked even by my friends, so that's good because the stuff we talk about happened 60, 65, 55, 65 years ago, and it's very hard to remember everything exactly. So it's good that he comes on now. Now tell everybody, Anthony, what I said that you yelled at me about this morning.
I didn't yell at you. You're just getting a little old and a little fucked up. That's all. Um, no, you had said that you were mentioning about the interview my uncle did with my aunt. You know, he did my aunt interviewed him about his career, how he started, his race fixing, him going to prison, a whole bunch of different things. And you had said that we have a copy of that tape. Well, the correction is that I have a copy of it. We don't have a copy of it. What I'm sure what you meant was that we have a copy of it. Since I'm on the podcast with you all the time, you just probably meant we have a copy. But just to clarify things, is that I have a copy.
Well,
And
I would have been correct if we were married, right?
yeah, right,
But being we're not married, the copy belongs to you
right,
and not we.
right,
So okay, so I,
exactly.
I apologize for
Yeah,
saying we or me when it's that's not the case.
okay. Now,
And then I also want to say this because I didn't when you called me I didn't look it up. I didn't listen to the whole tape because I
you
didn't
don't have the
I
tape
just
to listen
assumed
to.
because I know when you said at 5 minutes and 42 seconds into the tape you said this. So
Right.
once you have it down pat with the exact time I said it, I wasn't going to check it.
No, 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 not what you said. It was when you were talking about Mike Hole, okay, where they found him dead in the car on the Bell Parkway.
Right.
And when we first listened to that tape, Larry, a long time ago, when I thought maybe my uncle was going to mention you on it, but he didn't, um, we were both saying, well, we thought maybe Tony Shula could have had something to do with it. Who the fuck trusts him? This and that. So I think that's where you got the idea from that my uncle said maybe Tony Shula had something to do with it. But my uncle didn't say he thinks Tony Shula had something to do
You
with it.
mean with the death of
With the
Michael?
death of Mike Hole. Yeah, it
Right.
was asphyxiation. They found his muffler was stuffed with rags. A tube went from there into the floorboard underneath his car, his driver's seat in his car. And they found a letter that he had written his wife apologizing for his weakness.
That's
Yes.
exactly right because I
Yeah.
have it. I have that right here.
Oh,
It
okay.
was in
Yeah.
the New
Yeah.
York Times. It said the police said two notes were found in Michael
Mhm.
Garden City home. One note addressed to his wife said he was leaving all his possessions to her, and the other
Right.
asked her to forgive me. It said, quote, forgive me for my weaknesses.
Right.
Authorities says that Michael Hole had been seeing a psychiatrist at that time. He'd
Exactly.
gone through,
So they
yeah,
they they said it was a suicide.
that fat
Yeah.
fuck
Yeah.
probably terrorized him to death.
Well, that's another thing, right? He probably drove him to it.
Yeah,
Well,
that's
they were
exactly.
very threatening. Those
Yeah,
guys. So
he was such a bad guy. And
yeah.
then when I spoke with Eddie Donnelly that we spoke about last week, and he told me he was just a bad guy. But
Yeah.
I did what I did, and that was it.
Yeah.
All right, now let's talk about something else that you brought up, and that I talked about at length. And this is a very, very, very tough subject for me to talk about because many, many friends of mine feel the same way. Now, before you say anything, let me
Okay.
finish what I'm going
Okay.
to say.
Yeah. All right.
Many, many friends of mine feel the same way as as Tommy Stiggs and Joey Molino. They hate rats. If you rat on somebody, to them you're dead. I understand that. And just let me put this out there. I was I was I know how they feel because I was ratted on 2 times in my racing career, and both times asked to take a lie detector test, which I did, and I passed both times. And how I know who it was because Charles Sutsky got the Freedom of Information Act. He got my whole file, and I found out what it was. It was at Freehold. New Jersey State Police gave me the lie detector test, and it was at Freehold when I I passed the lie detector test. And had I not passed the lie detector test, I would have probably been arrested for the charges that were against me because of 2 guys in harness racing who I never named and I won't name, um, that I found out from the Freedom of Information Act. But I passed the lie detector test because I really didn't do what they said I did. Another Tannenbaum situation. But now here's the problem that I have. So I know what it's like for somebody to rat on you and lose everything just to try to protect themselves and put the blame on somebody else. It's a terrible, terrible, terrible thing. I myself, 2 different times in my lifetime, could have saved myself if I would have just told the commission what they wanted to hear pertaining to one time pertaining to one driver, the other time pertaining to 4 drivers, pertaining to fixed races. I wouldn't do it. And because I wouldn't do it, it cost me my whole life, my career. It cost me millions and millions of dollars, and some good friends that supported me and that had horses with me all during that time, and spent millions of dollars to get me to that point, including Charles Sutsky and Stanley Dancer. And I refused to give up these 4 guys, and for that I wind up losing everything. So number one, I know what it's like to be ratted on, and number two, in my whole life, I I would never rat on anybody, and I lost millions of dollars in a 80-horse stable, a training center, 7 homes. I lost everything. Now, that's not life in prison, but it's something that I worked for and the only thing I wanted to do in my life. Okay, now we get into the nitty gritty stuff. Joey Molino and my friend Tommy, they if you're a rat, you're dead to them, and I can understand it in most cases. And they don't even want to hear most cases. To them, there is no exceptions to that rule. And and I I must know maybe 10, 12 people that became government informants, and two of them uh, had the right to switch. And one of them was Frank Cullotta, and I spoke about that before. Now, I'll just say this real quick, and then I know you have something to say about it. When I met with Frank Cullotta, when I met with him, in fact, I think it was right at this meeting here. We had a long talk, and I asked him about why he became a government informant. And his his here's what he told me, and I think it was right at that table. He said that when he was in Las Vegas with Tony Spilotro, that Tony was doing a lot of bad things. I think everybody knows about that. They already seen the picture casino, and I'm sure they know all about that. But Tony Spilotro was doing a lot of bad things. He was fooling around with everybody's wives. He was doing everything that you shouldn't do. He was doing, and causing a lot of heat on everybody, and it was affecting the skim. And a lot of heat was starting to come down. And they wind up all getting pinched out there. And when the head guys in Chicago called up Spilotro, and this was on a wire tape, they says, "What the hell's going on down there? What these guys are doing? They were getting a lot of heat and this and that and everything else." And to get himself off the hook, he says, "It's not me, it's the other guy." And the other guy was Frank Cullotta. So they says, "Well, take care of your dirty laundry and do it right away." Now, Frank Cullotta, at that time, he just got pinched, like I think the week before. And the FBI went to him, and they made him listen to the wiretap. And they said that where by law we have to let you know that there's a threat on your life. And he said, "Larry," he says, "that night they asked me to cooperate." He says, I'll talk to you tomorrow." And that night he went through hell. He couldn't sleep. He says, and he wind up cooperating because it was just a question of this is my dog. This is my dog, Buddy. He, he, he was raised on my lap, and now every time I sit down, he wants to sit on my lap. So anyway, he told me that it was a question of just going to prison and just waiting for somebody to kill him, or turning state's evidence. And he said for 10 years after that, he said he couldn't get over it. There were times he was thinking of killing himself, and I mean, he went through a bad time because that was not his life. That's not who he was. That's not. And I understood it, and I told him, and we talked about it, and I felt terrible for him. What are you supposed to do in that situation? I mean, here's a guy that's took the same oath that you took. He's you're in the same business and everything, and loyalty is a two-way street. I mean, are you supposed to just sit in your cell like a fucking mutt and wait to get stabbed to death or beat to death because the guy who's supposed to be your brother and you did nothing wrong just makes up a lie about you, and then what are you supposed to do? So in that situation, I mean, you got to kind of understand it, and I know that even on the, maybe I shouldn't say this, but I'll say it, even on the set of because Frank Cullotta wound up being the advisor for the movie Casino, and a lot of the actors, they didn't want to stay around him when they found out who he was, and it's just sad, and it took him a long time to get over it. And there's one other guy like that, but I won't get into him because it's basically the same thing. What are you supposed to do? And I even did a podcast on second chances. I mean, all right, you took the oath, but so did the other guy take the oath. And why do you have to be the stand-up guy when the guy's standing next to you that you grew up with and you did everything with, all of a sudden he tells his bosses something that's not true that he was doing, and then you're marked for death. What are you supposed to do? But in Joey Molino's mind, and a lot of other guys, fuck him. He's a rat. Fuck him. There's no reason, no excuse for doing it. And I just think a little differently. Now, there's some guys that ratted that that they're fucking rats, and they didn't have to do what they did. And but like Joey Molino says, everybody's a stand-up guy till the handcuffs come out, and then So I understand that. I know what it is to be ratted on. You just want to kill the person, and so I understand it. And I'm the kind of guy that's stood up. So. I that's the only disagreement we might have, and I'm sure because of that reason, he would never even speak to me. And that's fine. I mean, I have no desire to go on anybody else's show. I'm just looking to do my own thing. But how do you feel about that?
How I feel about it is, first of all, they all picked that life. That life they picked. Okay. So when you pick a life like that, those are the consequences that you have to go through. Now, there's a lot of advantages, of course, of being in that life. Like you had said one time, like Goodfellas. You could go wherever you want, be respected by so many people, the money, the houses, the cars, everything that comes with that life, you chose. That was your choice to live that type of life. Now, if anybody could think that, well, if I get pinched, you know what? I'll just give myself up, take whoever I have to take down with me, and that's it. Now you're going to have people like, say, you and I are in that life. Now the heat's coming on. I might say, you know what, fucking Larry, I know he's gonna fold. I better take care of him now before he does. Somebody may think it out of me. Well, Anthony's going to fold. Whether I am or not, it doesn't matter. They may do the same thing to me. So once you take that oath and you pick that life, that's the life you chose to do. That's what you wanted to do. That's how you wanted to make your money. That's how you wanted to live. Well, the consequences are you get pinched. If you have to go to jail, you have to do the time. I don't care that if somebody else gave you up, whether it's true or not, that doesn't matter because you already picked that life. For instance, if my uncle, what if he decided to say, you know what? Larry was one of my main guys. He approached me. I did dealings with Larry. I'll give him up. Let him give up the other jockeys. He knows who they
I
are.
would have went to jail had it not been for your uncle keeping quiet and taking.
Exactly, exactly. So that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. You yourself would have been in jail. I mean, okay, Cullotta had to go through all that shit and everything, maybe unjustified, but he picked that life.
Yeah, but there's a difference. There's a little bit of a difference between spending your life in jail and waiting to get murdered in your cell. When you didn't do, I mean,
Yeah,
so
but Larry,
I guess
what about
loyalty has nothing to do with nothing. So everybody that takes that oath is just on their own. And if somebody decides to become a rat or a government witness and they rat on you because you chose that life, you have to go to jail for the
you?
rest of your life
I
and leave
believe
your wife and family and kids behind,
I
even
believe
though
you
you did
do.
nothing wrong.
I believe you do. You chose that life. That's what you chose to do. I believe you do. I really do. I believe you do. Only
And
because you
and
chose.
also and also also when part of the oath, not only with the guy that's next to you that took the oath with you and that you grew up with, but the rest of the family, part of that oath is, along with what you're not supposed to do, is things that they're supposed to do, like pay for your attorney, take care of your family, take
That's
care of your
different. Well,
wife and
yeah,
kids.
but that's a
Take,
whole different thing now. We're
no,
not
it's not a
doing
whole different thing. You're in jail and you can't get bail. How can why isn't anybody helping me?
well.
I just don't get it.
Well, they should help you. That they should do. They should. Nobody took care of my uncle when he got out. Nobody. He came out just about penniless. Nobody chipped in. Nobody did anything for him. But he did the rap. He still never said anything. and that was it. But you pick that kind of life, man. That's what you got to go through. You got to do the time. You have to go through that. That's what you chose to do with your life. You didn't chose to be a banker, a garbage man, or whatever. You chose to do that.
All
So
right,
you do
what,
that. That's the consequences.
a few months back, I had everybody knows that I had 4 or 5 months that I dealt with Nicky Barnes and up at Monticello, and there was only one guy left of his whole posse there, and that was Leon Batts, and and when I had Leon on the show, I always thought that Nicky Barnes, when he got arrested, he spent some time in jail, and when they refused to pay for his attorneys, and they start fucking his girlfriends, and everything that they were supposed to do, that they said they were going to do, they didn't do. He became a government informant. Now, when the only one left of that whole crew, Jazz just died. That's this guy here. This is there's Jazz. That was the last one that stayed alive. This is Leon. This is Leon Batts. That was the guy that was on my show. Now, Leon told me, and he said it right on the show, that when I says I can understand why Nicky became a government informant, and I told him that story, that nobody helped him. They were fucking his girlfriends and this and that, and they were doing everything wrong that they weren't supposed to do. Leon told me that there were a few people that knew, based on situations and deals that happened earlier on, that he was prone to do that. That he wasn't really a stand-up guy. But so who knows? I don't know. I'm probably wrong. Maybe you're right. Once you take the oath,
You chose that life. That's
it goes out life. That's
it, man.
it. All right, so I lose another one. I'm used to
You know,
losing, so that's it.
not that you're losing. It's your opinion. That's your opinion, and you're taking it kind of personal because you know these people personal. You know what happened to them. I could have easily said, "Well, fuck, nobody helped my uncle. He should have ratted everybody out." But no, I still believe he did the right thing. He did the time, and told on no one, even though nobody came to his aid. He still did the right thing.
Well, there's heavyweight guys now in jail for life that they're still in their 40s, 50s, and
Yeah,
60s, and
yeah,
they got life sentences, and all they have to do is give one or two people up,
right,
but
exactly.
there's also a lot of them. Look, to become a government informant, you have to have the information to give up to get you out of jail. A
Right.
lot of these guys, that are in jail doing the time, don't have good enough information for them to be a government informant.
Either that or they won't do it no matter what information they have. It
I
could be
don't
that
know.
too.
All I know is that I'm glad I stuck with racing my cars and driving horses. And the worst guy I had to put up with was Tannenbaum, and fuck him. Okay, let's talk about something else. I just want the people to know that Charlie Giamenko, I did get a letter from his friend who happens to be a rabbi, and
Yeah,
his friend defended him.
yeah.
I have the letter. I'm not going to put it up because you can't read it anyway. The print's too small. But he sent me a letter saying that he saw the podcast, and that's not Charlie. He was just
No,
like,
Charlie's not like that. No,
so okay.
come on.
We're never going to talk about that again.
No,
That's
no,
over with. And
that's
me trying to defend some kind of
no,
people that maybe that's over with.
yeah.
All right. What else you want to talk about? You know what I decided to do today, looking for pictures?
Well,
I was looking for pictures, and now here's a guy here, and then you can chime in and butt in anytime you want. First of all, the last podcast, Leo Bauer. You remember Leo Bauer? He was a trainer driver, and he
yes,
was good. He's a good little trainer, good little driver too. Did real good in New York. and then got in some trouble, so got in the jackpot and wind up leaving. And when he left, he grew up in Saratoga, I think, or New England, or someplace like that, with two guys, two brothers. Well, I should know their names. I should have wrote them down. I forget. But one of them was married to one become a big movie producer, and the other one is a trainer up in Saratoga. And because Leo wound up getting in some jackpot, he went with the other brother that he grew up with, and he became involved in movies and everything. Got a real big job with that guy, and he's doing very, very well now. And Leo's a good guy, and he was talking last week. He come onto the podcast. He was talking, and he mentioned about this guy here. He asked me if I ever see this guy anymore. That's Larry Kadish. That's the billionaire guy that we were talking about last week. And whatever they did, he says that one night at Roosevelt Raceway, they Larry Kadish put 25,000 in a program and just slid it over. So whether it was to buy a horse or they made a bet or whatever it was, Kadish was a good stand-up guy and a good friend. And by the way, he was Jewish. Okay, then there's this guy here. Now, anytime you want to butt in with a story, okay, I put this picture up. This is me and Frank Cullotta. Yeah. I think this was in Vegas. Now, Frank Cullotta, he's the reason I wrote my book. And he called me up when he was writing this book. Frank Cullotta calls me up. This was, I think, 2015, 2016. And in that book he called me up and he says, I'm writing another book about my life. Can I tell of that story that we did in 74, that when he helped me find Shula that time when they ran away? And I said, sure, I don't care. And he put it in that book. And then when I seen him about 3 years later, I think I seen him at some affair or something in Vegas or I don't know. But he told me, he says that he gets, because he was doing these mob tours in Vegas. They had the Mob Museum or something like that. And he says he gets questioned more about that chapter in the book pertaining to me, what we did, than anything else. And he told me to write the book. So he was very instrumental in me writing the book. And that's how that book came about. And when I did go out to Vegas with him after he got out of prison, he hooked me up with that guy there. That was Tony Spilatro. And Tony Spilatro, after I told him the situation and we had to go find Tony Shula, he sent 3 guys down, and this was one of the guys, a monster guy, big guy. That was Blitzstein or whatever his name was. Anyway, I'm showing you all of these pictures. You know why? Because I learned how to do this. So this is like a new game for me. I learned how to do the pictures. And this guy here, another heavyweight mob guy, Corky, when I had the party in 1981, when I had that party and I took over the whole Concord Hotel for 3 days, his company, well, naturally he was invited. He was there. And he filmed that whole party. And he's in his 90s now. I don't know how to get in touch with him, but I know that his daughter, at that time he got arrested, his daughter just got out of law school. And from what I understand, his daughter defended him and he never went to jail. And right now he's out. And I have a friend of mine trying to locate his daughter's an attorney. She works for, he knows the law firm. And we're trying to get in touch with her so I could see if he still has the film, because we had a party in a complete show for 3 days. We had an opening act, a comedian. We had another opening act. Then we had the main act, which was my show, the Kenny Martell Concept. And it was an unbelievable, the biggest party, 3-day party in the history of the world.
You never got a copy of it? You never got a copy of that?
No, I never got a copy of it. Aaron was supposed to get a copy of it, and after the party, Then the next year was 82, 83. I got barred in 84.
Mm.
And, you just don't think of these things.
Yeah.
Everything was moving so fast. But we're trying to get a hold of his daughter to see if he still has the film. You know what I think I'm going to do from now on? Here's another one. See, every time I look at these pictures. Now, you know who that is? I'm going to tell you who that is.
Who is it?
That's my brother right here.
I was gonna. Is that Peter?
That's Peter.
Oh my God! I was gonna say Peter.
And what can you see the arrow, the hand on the thing from the mouse, so you can't see it? Well, anyway, that's my brother. And that's Bert Young, the actor who was in Rocky.
Oh,
Now,
wow, okay.
Yeah, now let me show you something.
Boy, Peter was thin then.
Yeah, you know how much he weighs now? 500 pounds.
No, we don't.
Yeah, 400 and something pounds. I pulled up a picture and it's not here. Shucks. It was a good picture of Bert Young, how he looks now. But that's Bert Young.
Yeah.
His real name is Dickie Moria. Now let me geez, I wish I had that picture, because I have a picture of him when he was young, at that age, when he first went to California, and I didn't put it up. What an idiot. Anyway, let me tell you about Dickie Moria. That's Dickie Moria. His name is Bert Young. What happened one day, and I mentioned this before in the podcast. What happened, we lived on 91st Street, and at that point there, my brother and him, Dickie was a bad kid. He was a bad guy. We went to junior high school together, junior high school 127. And we used to have gang fights every Saturday in the schoolyard. And the biggest thing we did was have garrison belts, and we used to hit with the buckle and everything. So what happened was, one week he come and he says, as we were approaching, because all the black guys were on one side, we were on the other side, and then we come together. And because 127 was a junior high school, was in a black area in East Elmhurst. And Dickie says, okay, because normally we just start swinging the belts. They were called motorcycle belts, garrison belts with a big buckle. And that's how you get cracked in the head or whatever. Anyway, he says, stand back. He made a zip gun. And he pulled a zip gun, had one shot, and he shot, and one guy went down. Everybody scattered. And that's when I decided that, he was really nuts. And my brothers start hanging out with him, and they start during this picture here, they were running guns from Canada down to the United States. That's what they were doing there. Now, we lived on 91st Street, Jackson Heights, and 30th Avenue. Dickie, who's Bert Young, lived on 89th Street, right off 30th Avenue, between 30th Avenue and Astoria Boulevard. And he come home one day, all cops around the house. His wife went crazy, and she killed, he had two babies, maybe 4 or 5 years old, and she killed the little boy. And naturally, they arrested her. She went into the crazy house. She wound up killing herself in the crazy house. And Dickie left there, and he took his little girl, and he moved to California. And it was such a thrill. Years later, when we saw him on a commercial, then we saw him, and he changed his name to Bert Young. Then we saw him in a movie with a TV series with Beretta. He was on a bunch of Berettas. And then he was in a movie with James Caan called The Gambler. And then he was in all the Rocky movies. He became a pretty big star. But his real name was Dickie Moria. He has a daughter out there that I don't know where she is. But I know that she uses the name. She must have got married, because she uses her first name, then Moria, and then her marriage name. So, but his real name was Dickie Moria, and we kind of grew up together. And he was a tough kid. Left-handed, hit you with a left hook, knocked you out in one shot. And he was a boxer. He did box when we were kids. And he was pretty good, but he was a lunatic and a real tough guy. I'm sorry I don't have the other pictures here that I took of him, but you guys all know who he is. Yeah. That's my new game now. I look at these, and this is why I could tell tell these stories. See, like these guys here. That's
Oh yeah,
that
yeah,
Paul Savino.
yeah.
That's Steve Bauer. That's me, and that's Michael Rappaport. And that's when they did that movie Once Upon a Time in Queens. And I hung out every day with these guys. I rarely took pictures. They made me take these pictures. But, now that I'm older, I'm glad I took some of these pictures
Oh
because
yeah.
it's, see, like this, even when he asked me to take the picture, with that time when I helped his father out, to here, come on, take a picture. And he wanted to put me in the scene in the Bada Bing Club. And I didn't want to. I never took pictures of that. And this is that's Trade Martin. That's me in the middle, and the guy on the end with all the bandages on his nose. That's Frank Vallelongo. Him and his brother wrote the movie Green Book, and they won the Academy Award. And they were doing They were going to do my movie. They were here. We were picking out locations and everything. And one night, he got a bunch of cocaine. It was laced with fentanyl, and he died. Sad story. He was really a good guy. Now I have about 300, maybe more, pictures that I have in my whole library here, and that's just like this one. This is the one I could never get that you took it.
I took that one. Yeah, that's John
Yeah.
Platino, Charles Giameco, and my brother. That
Yeah,
was the Meadowlands. Yeah.
yeah. And
Yeah.
your brother, that the guy with the gold and black shirt, that's your brother. He worked for me, right, Anthony? I mean, Dominic.
Yeah,
Dominic worked for me. Then
Yeah,
there's
yeah.
Charlie in the middle, who's now
Yeah.
doing pretty good, and that's
He's doing good,
Johnny
yeah.
Boy Platino at the
Yeah,
end
Johnny
with
Boy.
the white shirt on. Really good kid. Sad story.
Yeah.
All right, before I go into more pictures, say something, do something.
Say something, do something.
We're on for 38 minutes, Sal. We didn't come.
I know. It flies. Yeah.
Is there anything else you want to say, or
Anything else?
I'd love to find that. Okay, here's a picture of. That's my book.
That's your book, yeah.
That's my book, and that's all. So you could see that's Schuler in there. That's Sammy. That's Frank. That's Bert. That's Gina. That's me.
Now, what about the pictures? I send you a bunch of pictures.
Yeah, you sent me a pic. Yeah, I got them. I didn't put them up. For me I don't know how to go into the thing. You see, I have to line them up here. I have to line them up here to get them. Now listen. I just found out that I could take the pictures off and hit comments, and you don't mind just sitting there?
No,
right?
no. Do whatever you got to do.
All right. Let's see. This guy, Pat, still think Corky looks like Harvey Keitel. Okay. Jesse Black. Oh, I think I know who that. Lou. Those guys were 4 brokesters living in tack rooms. Oh, he's talking about the guys that I protected when I lost everything. And you know what happened? It's true that and one of them I felt terrible for. His name was Bubba Washington. He's dead now.
Oh, Bubba Washington.
Yeah, remember him, Bubba, the black guy?
Yeah,
he had a bunch of wives and must have had 100 kids. Really good kid. He was one of the guys I would have had to give up. He's dead now, so nothing matters. And that was 50 years ago. But what Aaron told me to do was to give each one of these guys $200,000 and just tell on them and let them take the rap. He says they'd probably get 6 months suspension, but I couldn't get myself to do it.
Yeah, I know.
Couldn't get And I wind up losing everything for that. And that's what Jesse Black means by those guys were four brokesters living in tack rooms.
Yeah.
And he's right. But, what's, what, I don't know. I don't know.
My brother said the best time in my life was in Monticello when I worked for you in Florida.
Oh, that's nice. Your brother was a good kid. In fact, your brother
Good kid,
your brother told me on the podcast that the only trunk I never used to turn over was his.
Yeah.
He was very nice and very neat.
It was very neat. Yeah.
Let's see. I'm looking to see any bad comments because everybody gets rid of the bad comments. I want to answer them. I'm still waiting for a thoroughbred trainer to come on here, but I can't get. And like I said last week, 50 Cent and all of them black rap artists, they're all drug dealers, and they get invited to the White House, and I can't get a trainer to come on here. Anyway, Rick Simon, Larry, what do you think of the current economy?
That's politics.
It's so hard to get a good paying job and make a good living now. Well, it's, what can I say? I'm not the right guy to answer that question. I don't know. I'm over the hill. I'm a broken down has-been, and I couldn't, I'm too old to get a job anyway, so I wouldn't know what it's like out there. Sorry, I can't answer the question.
Larry, my wife's uncle, not my wife's uncle, my wife's cousin is, I'm sure you don't know him. His name is Daniel Conti. He was in Goodfellas. He was in The Sopranos. And he has a restaurant.
Oh, you told me about him. I asked my friend.
He's dead now, yeah.
I asked my friend. He's dead?
Yeah, he's dead. Yeah, he died.
I asked my friend that just made that movie, Kevin Donato, about him. Remember? And I think I called you up with him there, and he said he knew him. He was a good actor.
That was somebody else. That was Nick Sandow, my cousin. That was Nick Sandow. That was my cousin. He was he played in the series Orange is the New Black. He was the warden in there. He played in a few different things. He does some screenplays and stuff. But no, this is Daniel Conti. He was like a semi-actor, and he has a restaurant. Well, he had a restaurant. His son has it now, called Goodfellas in Garfield. You said you went there.
I go there a lot. My friend Alfred.
That was his restaurant. That's my wife's cousin's restaurant.
Now the guys that own it, Doc Conte, they died.
Conte, right? Yeah, that's my wife's cousin.
That's your wife's cousin?
Yeah.
I heard they wanted to sell that place for $3 million. Well, you know what? I think it's worth it. Every time I go past that place, it's packed.
Yeah. Good fellas.
All right, Jesse Black. Larry, you stood up and it cost you everything. Yeah, that's right. But I wonder if I would have had the guts to stand up, because it was only a few million that I lost and that I gave up. The part that hurt the most was that my friends who backed me, Alan August and Andy Beleza and Aaron Wagman and Davey Handel and Charles Slutsky, and stuff, them were the guys that I'd hurt, because they were the ones that supported me. And for me, and when I didn't give these guys up, they were very disappointed in me. I wonder, and that's when they told me, Aaron says, give them each $200,000. I wonder if I would, here's what happened too. This was just a few years back. I was talking about that, and I asked two wise guys. One was 94 years old, spent 40-something years in jail. It was Jimmy's father. And I told him that story. I says, what would you have done? He says, you did the right thing, kid. And then I asked another young kid who was a boss in one of the families, but in his 40s. And he says, you shouldn't give him the money. You should have given the money and just tell the commission who it was. Now, them were two mob guys, both took the same oath. The younger guy says, I should have gave him up instead of losing everything. And his reasoning was that I wasn't in the mob. I was a citizen. I wasn't. I guess in that if you rat on somebody, you call the cops on somebody, and you're not in the mob, I guess it's okay.
No,
I
you're
don't
still
know.
a rat. You're still a
Well,
rat.
why would? Well, anyway, I got two different answers from two.
Well, you never approached them with asking them if they would take the money if you gave them up, right?
No,
No.
I didn't.
So
But
you
I
don't
wonder.
even know
I
what they
wonder.
would have said.
I wonder if it was a life sentence. If
I
they
don't
said,
think it
if you
would have
don't
been.
tell us, you're going away for life. I wonder. I wonder if that would have changed my mind. I don't know.
I don't know.
Them a tough
Yeah,
question.
it is.
Let's see. JW say Cullotta was looking at a lot of time and decided to rat. That's about it. No excuses. Okay. Well, I can only tell you that the FBI did make him hear the phone conversation, and the phone conversation was get rid of him right away. So,
He picked a life.
whatever. Okay, let's see. Pat Cogan, the Chicago underworld kept their mouths shut. Having only one family had a lot to do with that. That's very true. That's very true. They were okay, let's see. He had two choices: get work go whacked, or go to prison and get whacked. He chose the government to keep him and his family alive. This bullshit about taking care of it if your stand up is gone for over 100 years. I don't know. I'm probably wrong. I'm probably wrong. I don't know. I just know I wanted a second chance.
I don't think it's a matter if you're right or wrong. It's just a matter of what you would do. You know, what you would do in that situation. And I tell you what, unless you're in that situation where you're facing that many years and everything, you don't know. You really don't know. But
Lou sends me a thing. He says, Larry, these four guys that you didn't rat on, did they help you when you were down and out? And the answer is
no.
the when I got up that morning from the park bench, I was there for 3 days. I was living on the bench in the park, and it had rained that night. And I was sitting there. It was about 7 o'clock in the morning, and where the phone booth was, it was a bus stop. And I asked the guy at the bus stop for if he can give me some change. I had to make a call, and I called this kid. Um, I guess I could say his name. Anyway, it was a French kid that worked for me, and he was a good groom. And I told the story before. And back then, the immigration used to come. Remember, they used to come at Monticello, and all the
Yeah.
Canadian grooms that scatter.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't want to lose him as a groom, and he didn't want to go back to Canada because he liked working for me. So I got him married. I paid a girl $5,000 and got him married. And the deal was I give her another $5,000 if he stayed married for 2 years. Then he'd be a citizen. And I bought them a house. I bought a house, and I says, if you stay married after the 2 years, you can keep the house. I furnished the house. I bought them 2 cars, and they wind up getting married for real after the 2 years because they really did like each other. They really got along. And I called him up many years later. It was probably 5 years later, and I called him up and I says, I need a favor. I need $5,000. Now, when they got married the second time, I gave him a $20,000 gift. Plus, I signed the house over to them. I signed the cars over. I gave him everything. And he said to me, he says, I have to ask my wife. And I hung up the phone. And they were terrible days when you realize that, like nobody cares. When you have nothing in common with people that can help, they don't help. And it's so sad. Anyway, that's one of the questions. Let's see any more. See, Tommy Stiggs, he says hello to everybody. He would go down this list and say, hi, James. Hi, Jesse Black.
Yeah, well, he knows that. Yeah, he knows everybody.
And then he would answer their questions real no matter what, like this. Pat Coogan, right, where's Tommy? Is he on there?
I don't see him on here.
Oh, well, he does his own podcast. He does his own podcast. Uh, Normally Jimmy's sitting here reading these things to me, but I have to learn how to do all this by myself. Meantime, I can't even get the thing on myself. Some horses race better when it's hot, and some like it cold. Just some horses race better in the mud. Well, that's true. The great Boston Bruin hockey player, Derek Anderson. All right, look, I can't go through all of these things. Anyway, I thank you all for. We've been on now for 51 minutes. I screwed up the opening. I hope I don't screw up the ending. Thank all you guys for listening. And I think that's what we're going to do from now on. I like that. I'm going to put a bunch of pictures up each week. And this way, when we run out of things to talk about, I could hit on a picture and tell the story of that picture.
Yeah.
That's a good idea. And I'm going to call you later on this week when I know for sure, and then we'll map out something about what we talked about before.
Okay.
Anyway, thank you guys for listening in. We're going to end this thing now, and I'm going to see if
Dominic says you're the best, Larry.
Dominic says that.
Yeah.
Tell Dominic he's a good kid. And he's one of the best workers I ever had working for me. Okay, this is it. Anthony, okay. I'll call you over the weekend.
Sounds good.
Thanks for tuning in, everybody. And see you.
Bye.